Hey everyone, this is Ellie Mae with Swift Crate Customs, and as of right now, today, Siser has released the Rhinestone feature into the Leonardo Design Studio software. There are a couple things I want to mention first when we get into this. At the time of the recording of this video, it has just gone into public beta. Beta versions are test versions. This one has been released to the public. It has been in closed beta testing with the team for a little while now, and we've given some suggestions and feedback to Siser on that, but it is now available on the Siser website under the software. It is version 1.1.26 is the version that Rhinestones will be available in. The Rhinestone feature is a Leonardo Design Studio Pro feature. With the release of the Rhinestones, which is in version 1.1.26, they also moved tile array and print to PDF. Let me check my notes. It's called printable PDF feature to the basic version of Leonardo Design Studio software. So those are the things that I need to make you aware of before we get into the actual Rhinestone panel. Now, just to double check that I have everything, make sure to check the video description below as things are updated. For instance, when this goes into open current version, I will put notes, additional notes in the video below. I can't edit the video after it's been released. I would have to release a whole new video. Unless something changes drastically with the Rhinestone panel, which I would do another video on then. If nothing really changes between now and when it releases to current, there's no point in making a whole new video just to say the same things. So this video is going to be an unedited live walkthrough of the Rhinestone panel that is in the Siser Leonardo Design Studio Pro version. I will put additional links on how you can download the software in the description, as well as a link to the Leonardo Design Studio Pro, so you can check it out and see if you have any additional questions. Through this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell for notifications. Leave comments below on if this is something that you would use. Make sure to watch the video first, because I have some tips at the very end for you. You can use this for more than just rhinestones. Let me just say that. And then we're going to get started in the panel, and we're going to just walk through everything, and I'm going to show a demonstration of use of this Rhinestone panel. Now, the first thing I would say and encourage you to do is just get into the software and start pushing buttons. You are not going to hurt anything. Undo is your best friend, and the best way to learn is just to start doing it. There are a lot of features that Siser has put into this Rhinestone panel. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this little demonstration. You have to have a shape on your design mat in order for the option to be available. If I delete this shape, you're going to notice in my bottom toolbar that many of the options are grayed out. That means it's not available because I have nothing on the screen. So I'm simply going to, for the demonstration, just start with a circle shape. And I'm going to hold my shift key down and drag across it. It's going to draw a perfect circle. Then I'm going to come down here to the same icon where Build Contours is. If you have been in the software, you may have noticed that the last icon currently in this version, it may change in the future, but the last icon that you selected is going to be the icon that it shows in here. So someone else's software or a video may not always look the exact same as your software because they may have used a different tool prior to recording that video. So in this, you have your build contours. This is where you can create what's called an offset or an inset. Then you also have what is the line fills for etching. And you now have rhinestones if you are a Leonardo Design Studio Pro subscriber. So I'm going to click on this little rhinestones. The first panel where you start with, we're going to point out here down in the bottom left corner is your reset to defaults. If you get really far into it and you do not like what you see, or you want to start over with the original defaults of the panel, you can just simply click on reset defaults. You also have your zoom in and zoom out tools, and then this one here is an icon. I clicked it, it didn't do anything. I'll have to play with that. The rhinestone panel, again, this is real life, unedited. It's just going to go out as it is. At the top, you do have a lot of color options. I will say that Siser did take into feedback from rhinestone users on things that they wanted to see. So you have a lot of different color options. This is color on the screen. Of course, it's not going to cut that color unless you put that color onto your mat to cut it out of. You have the solid preview. Check that, and then your rhinestones appear like an actual rhinestone. It even has the faucets of it and everything. If you uncheck that, that's just going to give you a circle. It can be a little bit easier to see when you are designing. So I'm just going to keep that one checked for visibility. Then you also have rhinestone size, a lot of different rhinestones here. The most common stone size is a stone size, SS stone size, of 10. So that is your most common, and that is the default when I opened up this panel. And you can use other sizes of rhinestones. The one thing is then you have to purchase those sizes of rhinestones. So what happens? This is designed to create rhinestone templates. I'll show you some other ways you can use this at the end of the video when we get into the demo. But your rhinestone templates are going to be sized a little bit larger than the actual stone size so that your rhinestones would fall into your rhinestone flock when you are creating your design. So then you also have additional options. There is you have to move your mouse over top of this scroll area here, and then your little scroll icon moves, appears. And then you can see there are a lot of different options in the Leonardo Design Studio software. Let's just select this SS75. You can see that it is a very large rhinestone. So I'm going to just click Restore Defaults. Whoops. I'd been playing around in the software, so that would be why. I guess red is the default. Let's come back here to a color I prefer. I think I had aqua picked. Okay, now you see that it changed on the screen. I'm not going to edit this video. That's because the default is for a fill. We'll get there in just a second. You also have your stone size. You can adjust it yourself with the diameter of your stone size. Keep in mind, if you're making that rhinestone template, you need it to be larger than your stone, so the stone will actually fall into place when you're into that template. You can add extra padding here, so we'll just adjust this up. So this padding is the space between your stones, the gap. And you can see as I change that, it's going to rearrange those stones within that design. At the bottom, this is something unique that previously I've worked with Rhinestones in Silhouette Studio. It doesn't have this. It has a cost calculator. The stone size, or stone cost, you can then calculate what it would cost you to make an actual rhinestone decal. So if you're having to use you're using the hotfix rhinestones with a rhinestone template, you can determine the cost of what those stones are going to run you. Nice little handy calculator. So that's all on your first. The next page is probably, the next tab is probably the most important. Fit and fill options. You have three options here at the top, fit to border options. Your first one is border only, which is what you saw originally from when I was playing with the software prior to this video. So you have just the border, and your little icons really give you a visual of exactly what the option shows. Then you also have fill only. So it's going to fill in, it's not going to give you the border. It's just the inner fill of the shape that is selected. Now, rhinestone vector. Currently, I have given feedback that this one is somewhat confusing. The basics of it are, it is the border and the fill combined. That is exactly what it means. Even though it says vector, it is no different. It's not a different kind of vector than your border and your fill option. It is simply just the combination of the two, as you can see here. Now, something to note, when I do have that fill with these options that I've selected, you have to pay attention to some of these rhinestones because they do overlap. So you want to keep that in mind when you are working with it. Now let's see, if I click on Restore Defaults, do a live demo here, it's going to go back to the color of maroon. I am not sure why, but I will make a note of that to ask. And if I choose, let's just choose, not sure that's even better. Let's just choose violet, I guess. So I restored the defaults and everything should be restored here. So all the padding, anything that I touched before should be back to normal. Now if I come up here to the rhinestone vector, you can see that it is a little bit different because I restored the defaults to the original defaults and I hadn't messed with those. Now I don't have those stones overlapping. So the biggest thing with your rhinestone panel is going to be that every single shape is going to be different. So it's not going to be this magic button because all the shapes have different spacing. Your size of your shape is going to matter. A smaller size is going to have less rhinestones, so it has to rearrange the order of those rhinestones within that shape and the size. So then you also have additional options here. Fit to border options, you have offset. That brings those that are outer border closer in. It's not offset from the original shape. Here you can see it's offset from that original shape that was created. If I come back here to border only, this will be a little easier to see. If I uncheck offset, it's going to go around exactly on top of that shape. If I check it, it's going to go outside of that original shape size. And then you can adjust it over here. This one is in inches. The spacing, you can adjust that in this window. 25% is the default. You can increase that spacing between your stones. So at 100%, this is what it looks like. For the size circle I have drawn on my screen. Okay, let's undo. Oh, it won't undo. Okay, reset defaults. We're going back to that maroon color. Let's see here. Let's see, back purple again. Back to the fit to window. So I have this fill only, you can see here. So with the border, I get the options of offset and fit equally. With fill only, I do not have those options. They are grayed out because it's not relevant to what I have in the fill. So let's go back to border. And then with border only, your options for fill are grayed out because those are not relevant to a border shape. So if I come over here to fill only, now my fill options are available again. So it is currently and defaulted to smart fill. I can come over here and change to grid fill. That's going to change the layout of where those rhinestones are, makes them into a grid. Hex fill, it's going to fill in some of the spaces a little bit differently. Again, depends on your size of your shape and your exact shape. You also have some additional options down here for spacing, horizontal, vertical, and it's in percentages, as well as your X and Y positions. And then you also have your angle. And if we adjust this here on the screen, you can see that it's going to change the angle of my hex fill. So with each one, you can just kind of get into the software, whatever shape you are using, and just play around with that. So I am going to come back here. Let's just choose Smart Fill. Angle is 25% there. Let's restore to defaults. 25 is your default angle for the Smart Fill with the fill only. So the best way to really see what it is going to do is to actually go through a demonstration with a shape, more than just a circle. So let's go into that. I'm going to pull in a design from the Leonardo Design Studio library. So on the left side of the software is the design library. I'm going to come in here and have to remember what I searched for. Haha. Moon. Let's see if it'll pull it up with this. So I did do a design and I cut it. Give it a little bit of time to pull this up. Okay. This might be where I edit the video because I need to find that exact design. Okay, so the design that I will use as the example is this boho moon decor. I'm gonna open that, click on open design. It's gonna open it onto my design mat. Now it opens at 3.2. If we were to fill this with rhinestones right now, you're going to have like 1 rhinestone per little dot. So I'm simply just going to make this larger, like I was putting it onto a t-shirt, which is what I cut it for. I'll get into that story here in just a second. So with this, the best way to see what is going to work with your shape and design is to simply test it. Come in here to the Rhinestone panel. Now, the one thing I will say here is that I do like that the Leonardo Design Studio software keeps your original shape. You don't have to make a copy of it. It keeps the original shape on your design mat, and we'll see that here in just a second. So I am going to come over. I'm just going to use this aqua, and I'm going to choose fit and fill options. We have the border here. We're going to choose border only, hit accept. And then what I can do, if I click off of it to deselect it and click back on it once, I can pull the rhinestone design away by itself. And then I am going to, for visual sake, I'm going to simply come down here to a rectangle, draw a rectangle, and then what I'm going to do is fill this with black, and then I'm going to right click on it and choose order, send to back. So now I am going to, this will help it be visual a little bit easier. I'm going to come back to the original shape. I'm going to come down here to the rhinestone icon again and fit and fill options. I'm going to choose fill only, and then it's accept. And I'm doing all of this. Whoops, if you grab both of them, it's going to grab the shape and the rhinestones. It's both selected immediately after. I'm going to click off to deselect and then click back on to grab that rhinestone design. And so you can see how this varies in what the design is. Now, all of this, if I click back on my shape again, rhinestone panel, fit and fill options, typically it's going to be much faster with you doing it versus me speaking and doing it at the same time. So all of these are on the Smart Fill. I'm going to come over to Rhinestone Vector again, which is a combination of the border and the fill. Click accept, click off, click back on and drag it away. So now you can see the combination of it. Also, if you wanted to, you can select this one and you can hold your shift key down and select the top one. If you were to center these together, it would then be the exact same shape as the bottom one. So it doesn't mean anything different when it shows as the rhinestone vector. It's your outside border combined with your fill only. So now what we can do is we can actually come down here and let's change this. So I'm going to select border only, and I don't have these options because it's only the border. So it's going to look exactly like this one up here. If I click back on that, open my rhinestone panel again, fit and fill options. If I choose the fill option, I now have the fill option grid fill available. So I can click accept, click off to deselect, click back on it, and I'm going to pull this one down here. So if I make a copy of my background here, and then right click and choose send to back, now you can see this is the copy of the option, which was, hold one second, back on the rhinestone panel, it was the grid fill. If we choose hex fill, click accept, click off to deselect, and click back on to drag that away. And I'm just going to come up here and do this again, just so I have the 3 ready to show you. Smart Fill, click off, drag it away, and move this down here. Then we'll be able to compare those. So now you can compare what the different fill options for your shape look like. And if you wanted to, we'll just bring a copy of this down here so you can see what the original shape looks like. So it really just depends on the shape and the size of the shape that you're working with. So if I open this rhinestone panel up again, come over to Fit and Fill, then you can get into even more capabilities of adjusting that spacing. Now, here's a look at a design that I created. So I took this design and I really didn't like the fill for this design. There was some gaps here, there was some different things. So what I did was I selected the design. I'm going to cut the original design out of a solid HTV. And I chose to mix my HTV. It was two types of holographic. Holographic HTV will give you the look of a faux rhinestone. So if someone does not like the feel of rhinestones on their shirt, or in my case, I don't like to wear the rhinestone shirts out when I drive because the reflections when I'm driving from the sunlight, it bothers me. It's all over the car. Sometimes the feel, if you have a really solid rhinestone design, can also be very heavy. So you can cut Siser Holographic HTV and make a faux rhinestone design. So I cut the middle, and we'll take a look here. This is before it was pressed. I'm having to heat my heat press up again. And in this case, I'm the one that messed up with the pressing. I think I overpressed it. So it's really not going to turn out. So all I have is the photos of the actual cut pieces. Siser Juliet cut them with no problems. Test cut, test cut, test cut. That is the #1 way you are going to save money, save time, and save frustration. Save your materials too. Because if your test cuts come out clean, then you have a greater chance of being able to cut that material cleanly without wasting it. So always do your test cuts before you cut your entire full design. So here's a look at the cut pieces for this Siser Holographic HTV. I will put a photo in here of the finished thing, but I'm going to warn you right now, user error, it did not press right. I was trying to combine it and I think I overpressed it. So it happens to us all, but I decided to cut it this way. Now, here's a quick look at what you would do after you cut a rhinestone template. So the idea behind it is you create this template with whatever rhinestone design you would like. You're going to cut that out of a rhinestone flock. And it really is magic. Rhinestone flock is so nice to work with so that you're not having to hand place your stones. So you cut the template out of rhinestone flock, and then you are going to brush those rhinestones into that template and they fall into place. And then you can use that and pick those up with a hot fix transfer tape that you can then apply to your shirt. So there are multiple ways that you can do this. You could use the rhinestone panel to create even additional things. You know, you've seen the diamond dot art painting, things like that. You could try that and get into it. Again, it's going to just depend on your size and your shapes. I will say that if you decide to work with the faux rhinestones, so with cutting it out of Siser Holographic, you can also cut it out of regular Easy Weed or regular HTV. It just doesn't have that sparkle of, you know, the faux rhinestone. So if I come over here to the rhinestone panel, you have all those options of sizes. So you can get into creating designs with multiple sizes. On that note, since I remembered this, I want to share with you. If you have a design, let's just take this design here, for instance, and I am going to see, let's see what happens. It will not, let's see, will it let me change it? It won't let me change the actual rhinestone design. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. I'm going to move this so I have my original shape, and I'm going to come back down here to the rhinestone panel. I want to change this to black so it's easier to see on the screen. Let's see if I can adjust this to black. I'm going to come over to the fit and fill rhinestone vector, and then I'm going to choose accept. Let's click off and then move my rhinestones off. So let's zoom in on this one. If you currently, as this is released and being recorded, if you want to move or add rhinestones to your design, let's zoom out here just a little bit. There is no like release rhinestones in the rhinestone panel. In order to release the rhinestones or to add additional rhinestones to a design, you are going to right click on it. You are going to choose paths, break paths. This is going to break everything up into individual pieces. You do not see that currently. You have to click off the design and then click back on, and every single one of those stones is going to be an individual piece. Now, if you had the layers panel open over here, that's what you would see too. So if I hit undo, okay, redo that one back. So now my design is the original. It's all one piece. We're going to scroll down here on the layers panel. You can see this is one layer. If I right click, paths, break paths, now my layers panel has just expanded a lot because every single one of those circles is now an individual shape. You can come in here and you can select it. You can Control C, Control V and copy and paste. When you do that, you just want to keep in mind that if you are creating it for a rhinestone template, you want to have enough space between your circles that are being cut that it's not too close together. So then you are in charge of your actual spacing of your design. So now you can add, you can move, you could take rhinestones out, but then you have control. So while the rhinestone panel does not have a release rhinestones or a way to add individual rhinestones, you can still work with it. One more thing here, as I'm going along, there are things I think about because I've been playing and testing it in the software. When I come back out here to 100% is way too much. So I'm going to zoom in here and get rid of this. I'll just move it off to the side. If you want to create a line, you can do that. You come down here to the draw. You're going to click to draw, start a line, and then you can click to end the line or to drop another point of the line. If you hold your shift key down, it's going to make a straight line at angles. So you have your straight angle, your 45, and then, oop, I clicked too soon. Okay. Undo is your best friend. Redo is your best friend. So grab this pen again, drop a point, drop another point. If you right click, you can choose done. So now I have this line. I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. So here's another thing I found when I'm working with the rhinestone panel. If you come down here to the rhinestones, come over to fit and fill. Not sure why it's blank. Let's start this again. Click my line. It worked yesterday. Okay, let's see what happens. Border. Okay, I don't know why it disappeared. I'll report that as a bug. Again, that's why it's in public open beta and not current version. You may encounter some things like that. You can always leave a comment below and I can report that to Siser. So what I want to show you here is that because my selection under fit and fill has offset checked, it puts an offset around the line. If I want that to change and be just the line, I'm going to click uncheck offset and click accept. Hold on, I gotta undo so there's nothing there. It added it on top. So here, rhinestones. I think what is happening is I have a lot of rhinestones on my page. Offset is unchecked. Click accept, and there you have your line. If I click off of it and move it away, you can see that my original line is still there, and I still have my rhinestone circles. So I love that it keeps the original shape. You don't have to worry about copying and pasting. Those are some tips to working with this. And I will share this little photo of my pressed shirt. I'm gonna go press that right now. And then I have to wait for it to cool because it is holographic, so it is a cold peel. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't, I'll share the photo anyhow because it does happen. And I believe I overpressed this, pressing it with both the two types of holographic. So any questions you have, make sure to leave those in the comments below. I do read every single comment and I do try to reply to those. I hope this little look into the Rhinestone panel has helped, and just get into the software and start pushing buttons and start playing around. Thanks for joining me and have a great day.